Bonjour mes amis, comment allez-vous? Or should I say, hello friends, how are you doing? In this video, I will build a French multi-role jet fighter, the Dassault Rafale C. For this build, I chose the 1:72 scale Hobbyboss kit. The plastic parts are very nicely molded and detailed. I like the wide choice of weapons. The kit includes 2 Apache anti-runway missiles, 2 Matra Magics, 4 Mika missiles and 3 large fuel tanks. The clear parts look amazing. There are no visible burrs or scratches. The instruction manual is straightforward. It includes 4 work steps. The steps are squeezed together, so be careful to not miss anything. You have an option to choose from 2 machines. Both are in the same dark cool grey color. On the other side of the paintings manual are also a color converter for Gunsei Sangyo, Vallejo, Model Master, Tamiya and Humbrol paints. The decal sheet includes insignias and identification numbers, technical stencils, decals for the cockpit and weapons. This will be fun to build. I think with a small scratch build, this build will be completely out of the box. Okay, let's get started. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell for not missing any new notifications. As usual in an aircraft build, I started to build with the cockpit. First, I cut out all necessary parts with pliers and cleaned them with a hobby knife. The cockpit top has ugly moldy nose. They need to be filled up with putty. It takes some time until the putty dries out. Meanwhile, I work on the ejection seat. The whole ejection seat is very nicely molded, but there is something still missing, and that's the seat belts. The easiest way to create them is to cut very thin stripes from masking tape. The masking tape is very sticky, but to hold it properly in place, I added a little bit of superglue. I also added metal buckles from 0.2mm lead wires. These parts themselves were so small that I almost lost my eyes. At least I have my magnifying headband. Let's work on the cockpit top again. The dried out putty must be cleaned out. For this procedure I use a chisel and a hobby knife and a sandpaper. After it's done, I glue the rudder pedals in place and prepare the cockpit parts for painting. And again, I will experiment a bit. The cockpit will be painted with Revell Aqua colors. To do so, I must apply a protective coat with surface primer. The Revell Aqua water-based acrylic colors do not attach on a shiny surface or plastic. It must have a smooth and matte surface. The aqua colors are pretty good, but I don't know if it's wise to use them on a camo paint job. But don't worry, I will do some tests before the actual camo painting. Now I paint all the small details with a paintbrush. The kit includes decals for the cockpit, but I decided to paint it by hand. Dry brushing is a good technique to highlight the edges. Best is to use a lighter color. In this case, it's light gray. Now I seal the paint job with a layer of Revell Aqua clear varnish. The consistency of this varnish is thicker and it reminds me of milk. It's not the worst varnish that I used, but I think I will stick to the Gunsei Sangyo GX100. Next, I highlight all panel lines with a light grey and black washes from Tamiya. Tamiya washes dry very fast. You can clean the excessive wash after 10 minutes or less. Okay, let's put the cockpit together. The ejection seat fits very tight. I have to be very careful not to damage it. The front instrument panel is a little bit wobbly. For a stronger bond, it needs to be glued with the upper part of the fuselage. So let's glue the cockpit into the upper fuselage. For a better final look of the model, I decided to cut out the flaperons out of the wings. The flaperons will be glued in a lower parking position, like on a static display. I also have some new cutting tools like a razor saw or tiny saws, but I rather cut out the plastic slowly with an engraved knife. After cutting out, I clean the flaperons with a hobby knife and sandpaper. Before gluing both fuselages together, more work needs to be done, like drilling holes for the weapon pylons and fuel tanks, and painting the air intakes and wheel wells. There are again ugly molding holes over some parts, so more putty filling. For a faster working process, I better switch to my Gunze Sangyo Mr. Color paints. No offense, Rafale. Since I'm painting the wheel wells with metallic color, it would be a pity not to paint the landing gear legs and jet nozzles. Only a small part of the wheel wells will be visible, but I added a black wash anyway. Finally, I can put the fuselage together. I really like how the bar joint between both frontal canards is engineered. I want them to move. I just need to pay attention to not glue them. It works perfectly. The model will look much better with lowered canards. Let's continue with gluing the flaperons, vertical tail, air intakes and more accessories. The worst part of the assembly so far are the air intakes. They don't fit, so be very careful here. You need a lot of patience. I also added some weight to the radar cup. If you are asking what it is, in this case, it's an ordinary screw. I think it doesn't matter what you choose, important is the weight of the object. For a smaller size jet, the Rafale has lots of weapon pylons. I decided to arm it to the teeth. The Rafale will be equipped with 3 fuel tanks, 2 Apache air-to-surface missiles, and 2 Mika and Matter Magic air-to-air missiles. There is much more putty filling. On the fuel tanks are visible gaps, and on the Apache missiles are molding imperfections. Okay, before I get to the whole putty filling, let's glue the heads-up display and the frontal cockpit canopy. For a better effect, I paint the heads-up display with a very diluted bright green color. Let's fill all gaps and imperfections with putty. I diluted the putty with a little bit of leveling thinner and applied it with an old paintbrush. The putty's drying time is about 4 or 5 hours. When the putty dries out, I sand it down under water with a smoother sandpaper. Next, I clean the model with soapy water. Let's mask the cockpit canopy. Ideal for this work step is a thin masking tape. I use masking tape from Tamiya or Italeri, but you can use ordinary masking tape. A good hack is to apply a little bit of PVA glue and glue the cockpit canopy to the model. This way, you can paint the cockpit canopy with the whole model. Now I apply a liquid mask from Jimenez, mask the wheel wells and prepare the model for painting. The model is already cleaned with soapy water. Best is to apply a primer coat first. I let it dry for some time and check out the model surface for imperfections. Looks like the surface is fine. For highlighting the model's panel lines, I'll apply a black colored pre-shading. Now to the camouflage itself. First, I wanted to use the Rafale Aqua colors for this project, but I realized the pigment density is too thick and is not ideal for aircraft. I stay with my Gunze Sangyo Mister Color paints instead. I don't have the proper camo paint, but it's not a big deal to mix it. The color that I use is a mix out of C11 light gold gray, C308 light gold gray, and a drop of black. As a template, I use the Rafale Aqua color. The pre-shading of this model is more pronounced. It's because I use more thinner. For a more weathered and flown effect, I added a post-shading. The surface will look more faded and used. After post-shading, I painted all details with a paintbrush. Since I'm in the whole painting process, I also airbrushed the air-to-air missiles. Next, I add a layer of glossy varnish coat. Decals of this kit are great. They don't tear or fall apart. Well done, Hobbyboss. After all decals are applied, I seal them with a layer of glossy varnish coat. For more panel highlighting, I added a black panel line wash from Tamiya. The Rafale surface looks faded enough. It's a quite new machine, so I just add some dirty areas with oil paints. Now I apply my own mix of gloss and matte varnish. Okay, the model is ready for the final assembly. First, I glue the jet nozzles and landing gear legs. For the final gluing procedure, I use Loctite Silane acrylic superglue. It's much faster than ordinary glue. Next, I glue the Mika and Matra Magic air-to-air missiles, the 3 big external fuel tanks, and the Apache air-to-surface missiles. At the very end, I glued the cockpit canopy. And the 1:72 scale Rafale C from Hobbyboss is finished. This build was very relaxing and a lot of fun. I hope you liked this video build. Please subscribe to my channel, like or leave a comment down below. If you're interested to see more of my work, join me on Facebook or Instagram. Thank you for watching guys, and see you next time!